you all out of the drama? You're friends again, you and Diana Ross?
We never were really friends.
I've heard that Diana Ross actually kicked you off of her tour because you were still in the Thunder. Is that true? What happened?
She wanted the lounge where we were, that one. So they said, well, you guys are gonna have to move. I said, okay, fine.
You know, I try to be nice, but you can only tell the truth.
We've heard stories that Diana would make the other Supremes change gowns at the last minute.
I never heard that before, no.
Forcing them to perform in mismatched nail polish. I heard this. I heard that you used to, on the shows, you would spread your hands over the other Supremes' faces.
Gladys Knight, often hailed as the Empress of Soul, is a legendary singer and a 10-time Grammy Award winner with hits spanning from the 1960s onward. However, behind the scenes, Gladys Knight has faced significant personal struggles that have deeply affected her life. Recently, she has contended with habits that have nearly depleted her bank account, health issues, and numerous heartbreaks and betrayals, leaving scars more profound than any of her soulful lyrics. Gladys Knight, a prominent figure among Motown's female soul artists during the late 1960s and early 1970s, played a pivotal role in the success of Gladys Knight and the Pips, a musical ensemble consisting of her family members from Atlanta. Yet in stark contrast to her flourishing career, Gladys Knight endured the pain of multiple failed marriages, which were reportedly influenced by none other than Diana Ross.
In my life, I would never, I've grown so much in the spirit, I would never at this point say, oh, I'm through with guys.
Born on May 28, 1944, Gladys Knight is a renowned American singer, songwriter, actress, and businesswoman who has left an indelible mark on the world of music and entertainment. With an illustrious career spanning several decades, Gladys Knight has achieved numerous accolades and distinctions. One of her most iconic achievements came as the lead singer of the family group Gladys Knight and the Pips, which consisted of her brother Merrill Bubba Knight and cousins William Guest and Edward Patton.
He said he's going back to find.
Together, they created a musical legacy that resonates to this day. Despite her success in her career, Gladys Knight's journey through matrimony was marked by both joy and adversity. She entered into 4 marriages during her life and became a mother to 3 children. At the tender age of 16, she found herself pregnant and decided to marry her classmate and Atlanta musician James "Jimmy" Newman in 1960. Tragically, she experienced a miscarriage during this period. Despite this early setback, the couple went on to have 2 children together. However, their union faced significant challenges as Newman grappled with DA, which ultimately led to his abandonment of the family when Gladys Knight was just 20 years old.
And they gave you what you needed to get better. That kind of thing.
Remarkably, they remained married for over 12 years until 1973, battling through tumultuous times. During their marriage, they welcomed a son named James "Jimmy" Gaston Newman III, born on August 13, 1962. Amid the difficulties they encountered, Gladys Knight made the courageous decision to step away from her music career temporarily. She retired from performing on the road to focus on raising their child, even as the Pips, her family's musical group, continued to tour independently. In November 1963, Gladys Knight and James Newman celebrated the birth of their own daughter, Kenya Maria Newman. The responsibilities of motherhood and the desire to provide for her growing family eventually led Gladys Knight back to her passion for recording and performing with the Pips.
Us kids were hungry. And she said, you know, I have a God-given gift. I have to use it.
In the early 1960s, Gladys, James, and the Pips relocated to Detroit, where they embarked on a new chapter in their lives. They settled in the prestigious Sherwood Forest neighborhood on Sherbourne Road, located on Detroit's west side. Gladys Knight also resided on LaSalle Avenue for a period, ensuring her children received a quality education by sending them to Jesuit Catholic grade school. The challenges in their marriage persisted, and after enduring a separation that spanned 7 years, Gladys Knight made the difficult decision to divorce James Newman in 1973.
I can't save everybody. Sometimes I just gotta save me. Just let me save me. And with that, I got 2 kids now, so I gotta save them too.
Tragically, James Newman passed away a few years following their divorce, marking the end of a tumultuous chapter in Gladys Knight's personal life. In 1974, after the challenges of her previous marriage, Gladys Knight found love again and married Barry Hankerson in Detroit. Barry Hankerson was the creator of Blackground Records, a label that would later sign his niece, the talented R&B singer Aaliyah, to a record deal. Together, Gladys and Barry welcomed a son, Shanga Ali Hankerson, into the world on August 1st, 1976. However, their marital journey faced its own set of difficulties, and around 1977, the couple decided to relocate to Atlanta while the Pips, the musical group that Gladys was part of, remained in Detroit. Unfortunately, Gladys Knight's marriage to Barry Hankerson encountered serious challenges and ultimately came to an end in 1979. The separation led to a prolonged and emotionally taxing custody battle over their son, adding another layer of complexity to her personal life.
It was agony for me. I just said, I gotta do something for my child. He could just keel over with a heart attack.
Tragedy struck again in 1979, when Gladys Knight's son, Shanga Ali Hankerson, was kidnapped. Distraught by the disappearance of her child, she spared no effort or expense in her quest to find him, spending over $1 million in her determined search. Amid the ups and downs of her personal life, Gladys Knight found herself in another marriage in 1995, this time with motivational speaker Les Brown. However, the challenges that life presented continued to impact her relationships, and she and Les Brown eventually separated and divorced in 1997.
And I looked at her and I heard something in my mind. I became very spiritual and I said, the Lord is my shepherd. I see what I want. Oh, behave.
Gladys Knight's journey also included a battle with gambling addiction that spanned more than a decade. In the late 1980s, she faced a significant financial setback, losing $660,000 in a single night at the baccarat table. Faced with the reality of her addiction, she made a courageous decision to seek help and joined Gamblers Anonymous, a step that eventually helped her break free from the grip of addiction.
You have to stand up and say, my name is Gladys Knight and I'm a compulsive gambler, and tell your story.
Throughout her life, Gladys Knight underwent a spiritual evolution. She had previously identified as a Baptist, but later converted to Catholicism. In 1997, her spiritual path took another turn as she was baptized into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, LDS, commonly known as the Mormon faith.
Time to spare, time to look.
This decision followed her son and daughter's departure from Catholicism to join the LDS Church. Notably, Gladys Knight's involvement in the LDS Church led to some light-hearted interactions with LDS President Gordon B. Hinckley. She humorously suggested that the LDS congregation needed to infuse some pep into their music. To her surprise, President Hinckley agreed, leading to the formation of the Grammy Award-winning Saints Unified Voices Gospel Music Choir. Additionally, Gladys Knight took on a leadership role and led the B1 choir at the B1 40th anniversary celebration of the Revelation on the priesthood. During a significant phase of her career, Gladys Knight's son, Jimmy Newman, played a pivotal role in managing her career through his company Newman Management, Inc. However, tragedy struck when Jimmy Newman passed away from heart failure on July 10, 1999 at the young age of 36. His untimely death left a profound impact on the family.
Told her that Jimmy had passed away suddenly, and her first reaction was, what?
You know, you never think you're gonna outlive your children. He just went in his sleep, and his dad died the same way.
Jimmy Newman was survived by his wife, Micheline, and their children, including daughters Nastasia and Gabrielle, and sons Ron, Stefan, and Sterling. This loss was a deeply emotional and challenging period for Gladys Knight and her family. In 2001, Gladys Knight entered a new chapter in her personal life when she married William McDowell. The couple's union brought together their families, resulting in a large and extended family. Gladys and William share a combined total of 17 grandchildren and 10 great-grandchildren, creating a close-knit and vibrant family network. The couple made their home in Fairview, North Carolina, where they established a connection to the community by owning a significant property, the former Rhodes High School in Asheville. This property serves as a community center, emphasizing their commitment to their local community. However, there is one thing which further puts Gladys in challenge, and it was her contact with Diana Ross.
I've heard that Diana Ross actually kicked you off of her tour because you were still in the thunder. Is that true? What happened?
Diana Ross, an unparalleled voice of the late 20th century, stood as a beacon of musical greatness from her early days with the Supremes to her solo career. Ross seemed to effortlessly command the stage, achieving unprecedented success. Yet behind the glitz and glamour, it appears the singer has a dark side that we never knew existed, and Gladys Knight was quick to show us.
She wanted the lounge where we were, that one. So they said, well, you guys are gonna have to move. I said, okay, fine.
In her tell-all book, Gladys spilled the tea about her beef with Diana Ross back in their Motown days. Knight revealed that Diana wasn't exactly a fan of her singing. The midnight train to Georgia singer shared that Motown big shot Berry Gordy, and Diana invited Gladys Knight and the Pips to open for the Supremes, but things got messy when Barry hinted that Diana was not vibing with Gladys. Quote, "We got a call from Mr. Gordy saying, quote, 'Well, I hear you're spoiling my act, the Supremes,'" Gladys revealed. "Well, Mr. Gordy, that's not what we're about, you know? We're just doing our show."
And the road manager came later on and told us that we were going home that morning.
You were kidding.
So we went home.
When asked if Diana Ross was ever mean to her, Gladys replied,
So are you all out of the drama? You're friends again, you and Diana Ross?
We never were really friends.
Are you friendly?
Yeah, I'm always going to be cordial to anybody. You keep your drama.
Diana Ross, renowned as one of the most iconic singers in history, has experienced a multifaceted career marked by both triumphs and controversies. Amidst her legendary status in the Motown era, she has navigated through tumultuous relationships, legal issues, and a dating history that has garnered significant attention. Diana Ross was born in the bustling city of Detroit, Michigan on the vibrant spring day of March 26, 1944. She was born as the second child among 6 siblings to Ernestine née Ross and Fred Ross Sr., Diana's early life unfolded in a nurturing household. Despite her mother originally naming her Diane, a clerical mishap on the birth certificate inadvertently bestowed upon her the moniker Diana. Unbeknownst to her parents, this twist of fate would shape the trajectory of her legendary life.
How did you try to expect a boy?
Well, we tried to continue thinking about boy. We resisted a girl, and the more you resist, you get it.
Growing up in the bustling cityscape of Detroit, Diana Ross was not only surrounded by the love of her family, but also by the rich cultural tapestry that would later influence her musical journey. Her formative years were marked by the close-knit bonds she shared with her siblings. 2 sisters, Barbara and Rita, and 3 brothers, Arthur, Fred Jr., and Wilbert, affectionately known as Chico. The Ross's family initial abode was situated at 635 Belmont Street in the North End section of Detroit, a neighborhood that would become the backdrop for Diana's early years. Coincidentally, her neighbor on Belmont Street was none other than Smokey Robinson, a prelude to the musical connections that would shape her future. However, life took an unexpected turn when Diana was 7 years old, as her mother Ernestine fell gravely ill with tuberculosis. In the face of adversity, the Ross family made the difficult decision to send the children to live with Ernestine's parents, the Reverend and Mrs. William Motown, in Bessemer, Alabama. It was a time of separation, a period marked by the challenges of distance and the uncertainty of health. Ernestine's eventual recovery allowed for the joyous reunion of the Ross family, marking a poignant chapter in Diana's early life. As Diana matured, her family underwent a series of relocations within Detroit. At the age of 14 in 1958, the Ross family settled in the working-class Brewster Douglas housing projects, marking a shift in their socioeconomic landscape. Their new home on St. Antoine Street became a crucible for Diana's dreams and aspirations. Enrolling in Class Technical High School, Diana embarked on a journey of self-discovery and artistic exploration. Her passion for fashion led her to take classes in clothing design, millinery, pattern making, and tailoring. As a young dreamer with aspirations of becoming a fashion designer, Diana immersed herself in the world of creativity. Evenings and weekends found Diana Ross extending her pursuits beyond the classroom. Modeling and cosmetology classes became part of her routine, driven by an innate desire to explore every facet of her creative potential. Notably, it was during this period that she developed skills in hairdressing, providing services to her neighbors for additional income. In 1960, the downtown Detroit store of Hudson's played a pivotal role in Diana's life. She secured a position as its first African-American busgirl, marking a significant step into the workforce. However, Diana's entrepreneurial spirit did not end there. She also ventured into providing hairdressing services to her neighbors, showcasing her determination to carve out a place for herself in the world. The year 1962 witnessed a milestone in Diana's academic journey as she graduated from high school. Armed with a solid foundation in both academics and her burgeoning creative pursuits, she stood at the threshold of a future yet to unfold. Simultaneously, Diana's journey into the realm of music had commenced. At the age of 15, she joined the Primettes, a sister group to the Primes under the management of Milton Jenkins. Introduced to the world of music, Diana's talent caught the attention of music manager Milton Jenkins through Primes member Paul Williams. The Primettes, comprised of Florence Ballard, Mary Wilson, Betty McGlown, embarked on a path that would ultimately lead them to the hallowed halls of Motown Records. Diana Ross catapulted to stardom as the lead vocalist of the Supremes, a dominant girl group of the 1960s. However, her ascent to fame was not without controversy as accusations of diva behavior and conflicts with fellow members emerged. Particularly, clashes with Florence Ballard led to her dismissal from the group in 1967, making way for Cindy Birdsong to join. Ross's rivalry with Mary Wilson also surfaced, culminating in Wilson's 1986 tell-all book detailing their conflicts.
I learned that I had to bite my tongue a lot of times, and Florence was totally opposite. Florence would never bite her tongue about anything. If it was whatever, she would call it.
Despite Ross's departure from the Supremes in 1970 to pursue a solo career, lingering tensions and strained relationships persisted for decades.
She would say or do things, I said, oh my God. But it went with the territory.
Recognized as one of the most influential performers in history, this singer boasts a career spanning over 5 decades, initially gaining prominence with the iconic group The Supremes in the 1960s. Her enduring fame and stature were highlighted when she was bestowed the honor of closing the Queen's Platinum Jubilee show, a distinction that placed her ahead of contemporary stars like George Ezra and Mimi Webb, as well as legendary acts such as Elton John and Duran Duran. Hailing from Detroit, the Motown artist has enjoyed immense success throughout her life, although her journey has not always been characterized by smooth sailing. In the early 2000s, Diana Ross faced legal consequences when she was arrested for driving under the influence, an incident that led to her spending approximately 22.5 hours in jail. The incident occurred on December 30th, 2002 in Tucson, where she was pulled over by the police for driving into oncoming tea. Officers conducted a breath test, revealing a blood alcohol concentration of 0.2%, significantly surpassing the state's legal limit of 0.08%.
Superstar Diana Ross was arrested at Heathrow Airport today. Scotland Yard says a female security officer there accused the singer of assault during what the guard described as a routine body frisk.
Following her arrest, Ross, who was able to phone into her case from New York, received a sentence of 48 hours in jail. However, she served just under half of that time, approximately 22.5 hours. The release was prompted by the unavailability of a female guard for her stay in Greenwich jail. Overall, she spent 47 hours in the custody of Greenwich police over a 3-day period. The year 1960 marked a turning point for the Primettes when they won a talent competition in Windsor, Ontario. This victory caught the attention of an A&R executive and songwriter, Robert Bateman, who extended an invitation for them to audition for Motown Records. However, Motown's founder, Barry Gordy, initially had reservations about signing the young and budding group. It was during this critical juncture that fate intervened in the form of Diana Ross's voice. As Barry Gordy recalled in his autobiography To Be Loved, the moment he heard Diana sing There Goes My Baby, her voice stopped him in his tracks. This chance encounter set in motion a series of events that would shape the destiny of not only Diana, but the entire music industry.
Lady sings the blues. I mean, we rehearse, and I would, say, put it into rehearsal, and she would say, I'm doing it, I'm trying it. But boy, when those lights came on, Diana Ross came to life.
Undeterred, the Primettes later returned to Motown and took on a role as background singers for several Marvin Gaye songs. During a summer stint, Ross also worked as Gordy's secretary, but her performance in the role led to her eventual dismissal. Gordy humorously recalled, quote, "She was so ineffective as a secretary that I had to let her go. My messages were all mixed up and everything." Ultimately, the Primettes secured a record deal in the early 60s, adopting a new name that would become iconic, the Supremes. Quote, "I'm very lucky to have Barry," Ross told Rolling Stone in 1973. "He decides what's best for me to do. I give him total responsibility for those decisions. It makes it hard on him, I know, but he takes the time to really make sure he doesn't make a wrong decision for me. He's had this kind of relationship with every other group, but I'm the only person that's really let him have total control." Motown Records, the iconic label that would come to define an era, became the home for the Primettes, who had now transformed into the Supremes. Their journey at Hitsville, USA headquarters became a daily ritual as the group offered their assistance to Motown's recordings, providing hand claps and background vocals. Diana's versatility was evident even in these early days, as she not only served as the lead singer, but also took on roles as the group's hairstylist, makeup artist, seamstress, and costume designer. In the late 1960s, the Supremes, with a lineup change that included Barbara Martin replacing Betty McGlown, were granted the opportunity to record their own songs at Hitsville Studio. These recordings, featuring songs written by Smokey Robinson, then vice president of Motown, garnered regional success, but fell short of nationwide recognition. January 1961 brought a pivotal moment in the Supremes' journey as Barry Gordy agreed to sign the group on the condition that they changed their name. Florence Ballard, the only member present at the studio during this decision-making moment, selected the name Supremes from a list. ensuring a distinctive identity for the group. Thus, on January 15, 1961, the Supremes were officially born. A year later, the group experienced a lineup change, with Barbara Martin's departure leaving Diana Ross, Florence Ballard, and Mary Wilson as a trio. Late 1963 witnessed the Supremes achieving their first hit with When the Love Light Starts Shining Through His Eyes, a harbinger of the chart-topping success that would follow. In June 1964, while on tour with Dick Clark's Cavalcade of Stars, the Supremes scored their first #1 hit with Where Did Our Love Go? This marked the beginning of an unparalleled era of success for the trio. Between August 1964 and May 1967, Ross, Wilson, and Ballard sang on 10 #1 hit singles, all of which also made the UK Top 40. The Supremes became a cultural phenomenon, captivating audiences domestically and abroad, solidifying their status as Motown's most successful vocal act throughout the 60s. However, success brought its own set of challenges. From the beginning, Florence Ballard and Diana Ross vied to be the group's lead singer. Otis Williams of The Temptations has written that Florence's voice had a real depth of feeling and a strong churchy sound. When she opened her mouth to sing, you sat up in your chair. Diana, on the other hand, had a small, high-pitched voice and a girlish demeanor. But Berry Gordy firmly believed that Diana would have greater appeal to white audiences than Florence Ballard. As Berry increasingly pushed Diana into the lead spot, tensions mounted between the two women. The once high-spirited Florence became increasingly sullen and testy. Florence thought of Berry Gordy as a father figure, and things seemed to have started out that way. Berry's relationship with the Supremes was that of a mentor. However, it didn't take long at all for Berry Gordy to become romantically attracted to Diana Ross, and his attraction was very obvious to those inside and outside of the group. While it would take years before a romantic relationship blossomed between Gordy and Ross, Gordy consistently favored Ross over her fellow bandmates, Mary Wilson and Florence Ballard.
Was she the love of your life? Diana.
I would say so, and looking back, yes, because she gave me more thrills than anyone.
In 1990, Gordy openly admitted to always prioritizing Ross when it came to choosing who would sing lead. Quote, "I made the choices of who sung lead, and my opinion was always that Diana had the magic and Mary Wilson didn't," Gordy revealed to Rolling Stone. "But Mary felt that she should be the one, and I said no." And then, of course, favoritism was charged, and it was perhaps favoritism because Diana was a favorite of mine, but she had the talent to justify that favoritism. In a more straightforward statement to Playboy, Gordy emphasized, quote, "Everybody knew Diana was my baby." Even after Ross left the Supremes in 1970, her collaboration with Gordy persisted, extending beyond music to the film industry. Gordy served as the executive producer for the Ross-led Billie Holiday biopic Lady Sings the Blues, and later directed her in the film Mahogany. Say what you will about the pair, but one thing was certain: Gordy was madly in love with the singer. "It's very clear why I fell in love with Diana," Gordy told Vanity Fair in 2008. "She was my star, and she came from the bottom up." With her, it was not only fun, it was just like heaven working with her because she would surpass anything, and she always kept her self-esteem. She always told me, if you think it, I can do it, and she did. However, Gordy's deep affection for Ross did not always lead to the outcomes he had hoped for. In fact, their first intimate encounter proved to be a bit challenging for the Motown founder. Reflecting on the experience, he candidly told Rolling Stone, "That first night I tried to make love to her and it didn't happen. That was like the most embarrassing thing of my life." Gordy further explained the complexity of emotions when he shared, quote, "When you think of someone as a princess, the queen of your life, your mind plays tricks on you." In a poignant detail, Gordy revealed to Vanity Fair that he and Ross had a meaningful nickname for each other. Explaining the significance, he said, quote, "For black people, bigotry was a fact of life. We grew up with that. That's why Diana and I started calling each other black." Gordy elaborated on the context of the term, noting, "No one wanted to be called black at that time. Black was considered a negative word in the 60s among the people we knew. This was before black was beautiful. I said a word is a word and I want black to mean love. Diana called me black and I called her black. We wanted people to be proud of being black." After years of maintaining both a personal and professional relationship, Gordy and Ross eventually made the decision to part ways romantically. However, there was one person who was not happy with Barry's and Diana's relationship: Florence. Florence felt betrayed not by the romantic relationship that Barry had with Diana, but by the fact that she was being reduced to a backup singer of a group that she helped create. Barry was pushing his lover to the forefront, which left Florence feeling sidelined and undervalued, and people believe maybe she has done the same with Gladys as well. However, this incident made a negative impact on Diana Ross, as one person wrote, quote, "Nothing sad at all. Successful is an understatement. Gladys Knight and the Pips were classic and always will be, period." Another one added, "Gladys Knight has always been one of my favorites. She is enjoying her moment in life, so leave her alone and let her live." Back in the days, it was rumored that Barry and Gladys were involved romantically. However, what Gladys tells is that they were not. During their early days on Motown, Gladys Knight and the Pips opened for the Supremes, but it didn't go as smoothly as Knight hoped. In a 2015 interview on Sway's Universe, Knight addressed the infamous rumor about Ross kicking them off a tour. Prefacing the story with her commitment to honesty, Knight recounted the events. Quote, "We were on tour with the Supremes and we were doing colleges and some stuff like that, and we opened for them," she explained. Knight recalled a particular night when they left the stage after a hot performance and their road manager informed them that Mr. Gordy was on the phone. Excited about the call and eager to do their job well, Knight took the call. "So I got on the phone and he said, 'Hey, I hear you guys are doing great out there,' and I said, 'I hope so, Mr. Gordy,' and he said, 'But you're giving my star act a little bit of trouble. What's up with that?' And I said, 'We're just doing our thing, that's all,'" Knight continued.